Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel. You got your boys here, Bert the Hurt and Lanny, rocking the Vanguard hat, guys, because today is all about why I buy Vanguard's VYM over your beloved SCHD.
Smash that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Holler at your boys. The Dividend Diplomats is going to be fun. I always talk about SCHD, why I'm buying it for my wife's account. Lanny always brings up his Vanguard trifecta, you betcha. But it'll be good to dive in a little bit deeper to learn more about why specifically he loves VYM so much compared to some of the other dividend-focused ETFs out there.
Guys, again, we're all trying to be investors here. We all have personal goals, guys. So, today I really wanted to just go over, in case you haven't grabbed from all the other videos, of why I do buy Vanguard's high dividend yield ETF VYM over Charles Schwab's dividend ETF of SCHD. Both are great ETFs. Bert buys SCHD every single week. I think he's up to 20 shares-ish a week now after the stock split.
17 or 18, depends, but yeah, ish. Have some fun with it.
Gobbling them up. My wife and I, we buy at least 6+ shares around there every single week as well. We've been doing it for over 4.5 years. Both investments are great. That means that you're saving money, you're investing money, it produces passive income with appreciation. It is all great.
Yeah, I think that's the funniest part of this. There's no hate one way or the other between us of like VYM or SCHD. They're both fantastic funds. They're both helping you achieve the same thing. And that's what's going to be fun to talk about here and see why VYM achieves what Lanny wants it to achieve for him.
Yeah. And again, VYM, if you guys don't know, it's an ETF from Vanguard, 6 basis points on the expense ratio. It's been around for almost 20 years, since November of 2006, guys. So we are going on nice 18 years here of having the ETF around. The 10-year return average is about 10%.
Yeah, great.
This year it is up about 20% at the close of November 29th, 19.91 from the chart that I am seeing. Up just a smidge over 27% from last year at this point, and up about 46, 47% over the last 5 years.
Yeah, so the performance for VYM has been fantastic, and I think that's usually one of the funniest things that people call out. Is I think that's probably where your biggest difference here between VYM and SCHD is going to be. The 5-year chart for both can tell you one story, and you can tell them that it's not close, but what you really see when you dive in is there is a big difference over the last 5 years about how VYM and how SCHD have been performing. And Lan, you want to jump into a little bit about that, about VYM versus SCHD?
From a return standpoint or from a composition standpoint?
Oh, return standpoint.
Yeah, so SCHD, again, they're tearing the cover off the ball, right? They are up 55% the last 5 years. 23% the last year, and about 15.5% year to date. So leading VYM in the 5-year chart, lagging in the 1 and the year to date chart. So VYM has been able to make some ground up really since 2022.
Yeah,
about to be on their 3rd streak, 3-year streak in a row of actually outperforming SCHD.
Yeah, so that's a very important point to cover, and that's what comes up in a lot of these videos and a lot of our comments as we go through it. SCHD on the 5 years looking fine, but it was really front loaded into the 1 and 2 of those 5 years versus VYM, which has been doing better on the 3, 4, 5 of the last 5-year history. So VYM's recent performance has been very strong compared to SCHD.
And again,
both are great.
I like the lower beta that VYM provides. So from like a risk standpoint, they have over 500 holdings in the VYM ETF. I think Schwab, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in SCHD, they have around 100 holdings.
Yeah, it's 103 from their website. The last video I said 104, but they had, I guess, dropped when it was 103 by the time. I don't know. It's always a little bit above 100. It's definitely more concentrated.
Yeah, so you got a little bit more spread here with VYM. So your swings up and swings down are going to be usually less than what SCHD will do or could do.
Yeah, and I think the
Um,
top 40%, the top 10%, the top 10 holdings for SCHD are 40% versus VUIM, where it's a lot more diversified. You have more holdings. It's in the mid 20s, I believe, too. I think it's right around the 25 or 26%.
yeah. So again, for me, it is a lower risk ETF.
Yeah.
And, I don't have to look at the news to see SCHD's new rebalancing. Like the fact that you have to get excited about a new rebalancing, why? So, like to me, it's like,
You have to get
less.
excited about
Well,
it.
it's more of like, oh yeah, they're going to shake it up. Sometimes they're going to shake it up wrong. Sometimes they'll shake
Yeah.
it up right. You could argue that I think probably in 2022, 2023, those shakeups didn't pan out. I think 2024's did for SCHD
Yeah.
in a big way.
Yeah, that's where I was
So
going to go. You run that. That's the risk you run with the rebalancing is um, sometimes you miss. Sometimes SCHG's formulaic way of picking their holdings doesn't work out. No one's perfect. Funds aren't perfect. But when you take a broader, more diversified approach like a VYM where you don't worry about the rebalancing, it's more index focused and it's much more automatic. You don't run that same risk with SCHD.
but at the same time, SHD's dividend growth is awesome. SHD's dividend yield is awesome. So
Yeah.
for passive income investors, heck yeah. Now you might get some volatility with your market value. You might get some volatility with your dividend growth as well, because some years you might not get that. Whereas VYM, you're not going to get like SHD. SHD, like I said, you'll get the years where it's like 20% dividend growth, but you might get years where it's zero or possibly negative. Now,
Mhm.
VYM, you'll get a boring. Usually, I always say 5 to 7. Lately, it's been like right at the 7% growth mark. You're not going to get the banger of an income increase, but you're going to get just
Yeah.
boring, consistent.
Yeah. And I know one thing for you in particular that's always important. We're always talking on the dividend growth factor here, and we go through our channel. It's just to put a little bit more of a around it. You have yield and you have dividend growth. So then you have this other metric that we'll look at called the dividend growth factor, which is dividend yield plus your average dividend growth equals your dividend growth factor. And Lanny, I know you always have a certain benchmark in your head of what you are targeting for your investment. What is that?
No, absolutely, Bird. And yeah, my benchmark that I typically strive for is typically around 9%, would love 10%. So you take around that 6.97% growth rate plus around, I think they currently yield 2.74%. So you get like 9.7%, give or take 30 basis points. So you're over 9, closer to 10. Um, so it fits what I'm looking for as I try to get to financial freedom. And, SCHD, though, that dividend compound factor can be massive. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's really what this all comes down to. It comes down to your personal preference. What do you need for your investment portfolio right now? What are you looking for, especially Lanny, as you're trying to get retire early, hit financial freedom? You personally want something different than what SCHD shareholders want. I don't think that's a bad thing either.
Yeah. So, and guys, just a quick recap too. I mean, we've been buying it for over 4.5 years for Vanguard's VYM. We have 1,645 shares approximately between my wife and I combined. Again, it's over $220,000 worth of one ETF, producing almost $6,000 a year, almost $500 a month. So if you just start, doing the calculations now, it's just going to be so consistent to get that 6 to 7% growth. Obviously, we're dripping, so we're actually getting 10% growth per year on that income. And we're not stopping, guys.
No, and that's the beauty of it. You found VOIM, it meets everything you want it to, and you're running through that hole, you're taking advantage of it, you're going to keep pushing and keep growing that position. So maybe one day you'll hit 2,000 shares, 2,500 shares, and just to the moon of VYM.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that drip when you get $500 or $600 a month in that drip at around 135. I mean, you're getting a few more shares, adding right back, to the totals here, guys. But again, that's why I'm buying VYM versus SCHD. Both are great ETFs. SCHD is a rocket ship,
Both are great.
occasionally, and VYM is just your consistent lower risk ETF. So I don't really have to watch what's really going on within the ETF, guys.
That's right. So everyone, let us know, what do you think about Lanny's strategy of VYM over SCHD? Let us know I would be curious too, what do you look for in a dividend growth factor between funds and stocks as well? Do you target 10% like Lanny does? If so, what are your favorite ETFs and what are your favorite stocks that help you achieve that 10% dividend growth factor?
Yeah, guys, let us know in the comments, as Bert said. Let us know your favorite ETFs, your favorite dividend stocks. How much passive income are you at right now? Are you close to your financial freedom? And Mark, smash that subscribe button, guys. Give us a nice thumbs up here. Thanks for hanging out with your boys here at the Diplomats, guys, on your Sunday morning. Bert, what's that final music?
You're either with us or you're against us, Jack.
That was Bert the Herd and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats. Over and out.